WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Banjul, 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon, and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online on wadr.org. Welcome to NEWSLINK. Here are the top stories. Nigeria and Germany to explore beneficial economic opportunities as Chancellor Scholz meets with stakeholders.
One of the main aspects for cooperation will be developing economy and using the economic opportunities of your country. There are a lot of chances, not just from gas and oil, but also for going to investments for the future, which is about hydrogen.
Ghana takes delivery of 100 high-tech military vehicles to enhance the nation's security in the face of growing extremism.
Collaborative efforts amongst nations facing this challenge and critical support from partners such as the European Union, who share our security concerns, remain crucial in mitigating the terrorist threat in the West African region.
Sierra Leone gets a functional government as opposition APC elected mayors and local ward councillors end months of a boycott, and illegal fishing activities threaten Senegal's local fishing industry, according to a new report by the Environmental Justice Foundation, EGF. Stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is Abdullahi Hassan with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to listeners in Gambia, Ghana, and Liberia. We begin this edition of NEWSLINK in Nigeria, where German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is expected to declare open a Nigeria-German business conference in the commercial hub, Lagos. President Bola Tinubu had on Sunday received the German Chancellor at the presidential villa, Abuja, as part of his two-nation tour to West Africa. Scholz's visit is his first to Nigeria since assuming office in December 2021 and will depart to Ghana, where he runs up his tour. WADR's Usman Umar in Abuja reports.
The German Chancellor arrived in Nigeria on a two-day working visit to enhance bilateral cooperation with the state, as well as to meet business leaders in Lagos. The brief meeting between President Bola Tinubu and Olaf Scholz is planned to initiate several initiatives as Europe advances its interest in Africa's energy market. Speaking to State House correspondents, the German leader said his country has a considerable demand for natural gas and hydrogen to fuel its economy and energy transition.
One of the main aspects for cooperation will be developing economy and using the economic opportunities of your country. There are a lot of chances, not just from gas and oil, which is traditionally linked to your country, but where there is a lot of room for improvement and for better using the capacities of your country, but also for going also into investments for the future, which is about hydrogen and all the things that are important for an economy that is able to produce all the necessary good for the people without harming environment. I think that the investments into this structure must be easy, but also benefiting for your country.
The host president, Bola Tinubu, who also doubles as chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, proposed partnership in areas that transcend the shores of Nigeria.
You will have noticed I don't need to go about the various problems happening in Sahel region of Africa. You have seen and noticed the coup in Guinea and recently in Niger Republic. We are diplomatically managing this situation. The need for you to help in that of security will be emphasized and will continue to require.
The German Chancellor's visit, according to international relations experts, will further strengthen the more than 6 decades of diplomatic relations between the two countries. The first state visit by any German leader to Nigeria was in 1978 by then-Chancellor Helmut Schmidt. Over time, the West African powerhouse has leveraged Germany's expertise in renewable energy, especially solar and wind energy. Recall, in 2022, Nigeria exported 1.9 billion euros of oil to Germany, while Germany also exported goods to Nigeria, which were valued at 1.1 billion euros, with machinery and electronic components being the highest imports. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Meanwhile, Ghana has taken delivery of at least 100 military high-tech vehicles donated by the European Union (EU) to boost its internal security architecture. The donation over the weekend followed a discussion between the Ghanaian presidency and the bloc on regional economic, security and developmental concerns. As Tawfiq Abdel Nasser reports, the fleet especially aims to support Accra's fight against terrorism.
The fleet of 100 armored vehicles delivered to Ghana is part of a larger military support to the country by the European bloc. Aerial surveillance equipment, including drones and electronic warfare systems, are expected in the coming months. Ghana has yet to officially report any terrorist-related attack within the country, but has repeatedly responded to broader issues which the security sector had attributed to insurgents in neighboring Burkina Faso. Receiving the military hardware, President Nana Akufo-Addo praised the gesture and its impact in the region fighting the growing menace of jihadist operations.
It is imperative to understand that no single country can confront the terrorist threat on its own. Collaborative efforts amongst nations facing this challenge and critical support from partners such as the European Union, who share our security concerns, remain crucial in mitigating the terrorist threat in the West African region.
The European Union said the Ghana aid was part of a broader 660 million euros package to strengthen the defense and security of the 4 coastal countries of the Gulf of Guinea. It is worth noting that the coastal states of Togo, Benin, and Côte d'Ivoire have documented cases of violent extremism that claimed hundreds of lives. The case of a spillover from Sahelian countries of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso that have for several years fought against terrorists. EU's head of foreign policy, Chief Joseph Borrell, concluded with plans for job creation and services, especially in northern Ghana, where there is a concern about the recruitment of young people by jihadists due to the socio-economic situation.
Tawfiq Abdel Nasser reporting there. Now more on security. We move to Burkina Faso, where a regional workshop for peace in the Sahel closed on Saturday in Ouagadougou, the nation's capital. The 5-day conference is a prelude to discussions at a forum to be held in Rome in June 2024 under the aegis of the Holy See. According to the organizers of the event, the Sahel Peace Initiative, the conflict in the Sahel is not receiving as much international attention as it should. Ogebirika completes the story.
The workshop attracted participants from Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Mali, Niger, the United States of America, and Burkina Faso itself. Deliberation centered on improving the humanitarian response and the mobilization of resources to encourage a return to peace, strengthening community resilience and cohesion. A special guest at the workshop themed Impacting Strategies, Organization and Commitment of Strategic Players was Bishop Alexandra Baze, President of the Justice and Peace Episcopal Commission in Burkina Faso. Baze remarked during the workshop that their goal is to turn the spotlight on the Sahel because they have the impression that the crisis in the Sahel is a little forgotten. The bishop, who is also the head of the regional working group of the Sahel Peace Initiative, decries the consequences of insecurity, including on school children whose education has been disrupted. Nearly 1 million children are currently out of school across Burkina Faso. At the end of the proceedings, Jennifer Overton, regional representative of Catholic Relief Services, CRS, expressed her satisfaction, declaring that the workshop was productive and gave her a lot of hope. The Sahel Peace Initiative is a response from the Catholic bishops of the region to the crisis in the Sahel launched in November 2019.
Erica, with that report, remain in the Sahel because the Malian army said it neutralized nearly 50 terrorists at the weekend. 3 large-scale operations by the Malian armed forces were carried out in the towns of Gao, Lere, and Nyonyo in the north and center of the country. The IRPA, the Armed Forces Information and Public Relations Directorate, also reports that this offensive by the army resulted in the destruction of vehicles and the recovery of a large quantity of weapons.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. NewsLink continues.
Remember, we are live on YouTube on WADR News. Now, ahead of the November 14 presidential runoff elections between incumbent President George Weah and the main opposition leader Joseph Boakai, more political alignment and realignment are taking place in Liberia. As you will hear in this report by correspondent Darlington Popper, the latest is from the All Liberian Party, ALP, that once supported opposition leader Joseph Boakai.
Speaking Sunday during a packed ceremony at the headquarters of the All Liberian Party, the ALP political leader Benin Ayire said that the decision to abandon the main opposition leader and endorse Weah's second-term bid signifies true commitment to uniting and moving Liberia forward.
This is not an ordinary endorsement. It's an endorsement from our heart, and also it's an endorsement of commitment that we will join you through the length and breadth of this country.
One of Weah's greatest critics since becoming president, Henry Costa, intended to avoid the former warlord Prince Johnson, who supported the opposition leader close to the seat of the presidency.
Nobody can do 100%. Only God can do 100%. But God himself gives people a second chance. So we're giving Megugbe a second chance, so he can finish the one that he started and start a new one that he wants to do.
Receiving the petition, President George Weah appreciated URE and the ALP for the level of confidence they have reposed in him for the interests of the country.
I'm deeply honored and humbled to accept this endorsement with heartfelt gratitude. The conditions in this manner is not only a testament to my dedication and hard work, but also a reminder of the responsibility that comes with it. I pledge to uphold the values and principles that this endorsement presents.
While calling on Liberians to remain calm, Weah indicated that the ALP's endorsements demonstrates the ability of the opposition party to put aside their interests to move Liberia forward. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Popper in Monrovia.
Over in Sierra Leone, elected officials from the opposition All People's Congress APC who boycotted office after the inauguration of President Julius Maada Bio have begun taking their oath of office. Mayors and local ward councillors for 3 months stayed away from their offices in protest of Bio's victory in the June 24 elections. They cited electoral irregularities and accused the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party SLPP of influencing the Electoral Commission during the vote. James Onyapon reports.
After a 3-month boycott, elected APC mayors and local ward councillors have commenced taking their oath of office to mark the official return to governance in Sierra Leone. Freetown's Mayor Yvonne Akisoya was among many to take her oath for a second term in office. The swearing-in ceremony was overseen by the Minister of Local Government. This development followed an intense period of negotiations by the Commonwealth Secretariat, the regional body ECOWAS, and the African Union to get the opposition APC and the ruling SLPP to end the political crisis. Last week, a peace deal was signed by both parties, which includes an agreement by the APC elected officials to return to national governance. Recall, the U.S. Embassy in Freetown last Thursday congratulated the opposition APC leadership for taking the bold step towards peace and national cohesion. It said the path towards implementation of the agreement for national unity helps ensure the representation of all Sierra Leoneans in local government bodies and lays the groundwork for more inclusive and responsive policies and service delivery. The European Union Election Observation Mission in a report cited inconsistencies in the results by the Sierra Leonean electoral body, which declared a 56.17% vote for President Bill. The main opposition candidate, Samura Kamara of the APC, came second with 41.16%.
James Japan with that report. You are listening to NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Nigeria and Germany to explore beneficial economic opportunities as Chancellor Scholz meets with stakeholders. Ghana takes delivery of 100 high-tech military vehicles to enhance the nation's security in the face of growing extremism. Sierra Leone gets a functional government as opposition APC elected mayors and local ward councillors and months of boycott. Still ahead in the news, illegal fishing activities threaten Senegal's local fishing industry, according to a new report by the Environmental Justice Foundation EGF. We also have the guest interview, press review, and sports update. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Remember, we are streaming live on wadr.org and live on YouTube on WADR News. Here in Senegal, the Environmental Justice Foundation EGF has released a report which it said concerns the small-scale fishing industry. The foundation warns that Senegalese waters are being overexploited by bottom trawlers, most of them foreign. The scarcity of fish is thought to have prompted many fishermen to give up their activity and turn to illegal immigration. Francis Boniface reports.
The document reports that these trawlers with their huge nets collect most of the available fish. According to the British NGO, the EJF, these are environmentally destructive fishing practices that are cutting into the incomes of Senegalese artisanal fishermen. As a result, they are increasingly tempted into exile. These vessels have a nickname, the bulldozers of the oceans, an allusion to their gigantic nets which massively capture all the fish in their path. The EJF points out that most of these bottom trawlers are operated by European and Chinese companies. They set their sights on foreign markets rather than supplying Senegalese consumers. The survey lasted 9 months, and according to the London-based NGO, more than 79% of the artisanal fishermen questioned say they are struggling to feed their families, and 77% of them have seen their income fall over the last 5 years. This is causing a serious crisis in the sector, and the report states that many fishermen are taking the perilous path of migration. Several of those interviewed also accused trawlers of illegally entering areas reserved for small-scale fishing, which increases the risk of collision with pirogues, sometimes resulting in the death of fishermen. 76% of fishermen claim that their equipment have been damaged by trawlers as much as they damage Senegal's marine ecosystem.
A report by Francis Boniface.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Let's take you back to Nigeria for the screaming and banner headlines from the national dailies with Usman Umar.
Hello and welcome to the press review segment. Today we start with the Daily Trust newspaper, leading with this story. Pay rise. Federal government yet to pay 79.3 billion peculiar allowance 7 months after. With rider, Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria ultimatum ends tomorrow. Another rider, Nigeria Labour Congress alleges lack of capacity to manage wages. Above the mast headline, you have other stories trending on the front page of the Daily Trust. Power Minister yet to give policy directive after 2 months in office. Another rider, Nigeria Chinese firms sign 365 billion naira contract to upgrade distribution lines. Bandits kill only teacher in Kaduna community. That's a very sad one. The detail is on page 6 of the Daily Trust. Federal government plans reabsorption of retired military officers. Quickly, we move over to another newspaper for today, which is Leadership. The Leadership is leading with this story. Depletion of justices. Chief Justice of Nigeria moves to fill 11 Supreme Court vacancies. Of course, this detail of this is on page 4. There was a valedictory session last week, Thursday, where, of course, a retiring justice of the Supreme Court made some revelations that were very disturbing about how the Supreme Court is structured and how the CJN, that is the Chief Justice of Nigeria, has too much power. And as a result of that, he has been accused of some misuse of the powers of his office. Well, we have a lot to say on that on page 4 of the Leadership newspaper. And the last one from the Leadership today, female Federal University of Technology lecturer murdered in Minna. This is a very sad one, which happened on Saturday. And the last paper we are taking a look at today is Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune is leading with this story. 15-point Memorandum of Understanding implementation. Nigeria Labour Congress threatens boycott of meeting with federal government. Warns Labour Minister not to attend. To shut down economic activities in Imo, November 1st, over alleged labor maltreatment. These are some developing stories following issues between the federal government and the Nigeria Labour Congress. Now, interesting story below the cover picture, which has the German Chancellor and the President of Nigeria. I directed Kyari Malami to fight $15 billion US payment to P&ID. This is according to Nigeria's former President, Muhammadu Buhari. And indeed, it's on this note that we draw the curtains on today's edition of Press Review. It's back to you in the studio. My name is Usman Umar from Nigeria's capital, Abuja.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest segment this afternoon is a focus on Sierra Leone, where elected lawmakers, mayors, and local ward councillors from the major opposition All People's Congress APC are resuming administrative duties after 3 months of protest. These officials, who alongside their party alleged electoral fraud during the June 24 general elections, had boycotted governance until a recent negotiation led by the Commonwealth, ECOWAS, and AU in Freetown to end the political impasse. During the dialogue, several agreements were reached. Kemo Cham, an independent analyst, tells us more about this development.
By the agreement, the dialogue that was spearheaded by international and regional bodies, including the Commonwealth, the African Union, and ECOWAS, eventually resulted into them agreeing and signing a pledge again for the opposition to come in. And supposedly, according to the outcome of the election, the governing party, the SLPP, was to meet certain demands of the main opposition. Among these are that they would discontinue ongoing court cases against opposition party members, which the opposition APC feel were politically motivated. And there were people in jail for various offenses. And then these were also seen as politically motivated charges that they faced, and these were all to be dropped according to what we saw after the dialogue.
One other item or issue that was discussed during the negotiations that you rightly talked about was the need for electoral reforms to prevent a reoccurrence of what happened during and after the June 24 general elections in Sierra Leone. How far is the government of President Julius Maada Bio on that promise?
Yeah, so far, this agreement was signed a few days ago. All we have had is just promise. But I've got to say, this will not be the first time, or this is not the first time we have had promises like this. Not just from the current president and governing party, but even from the opposition APC itself when it was in power. Some of these electoral reforms have been there from 2006. You have had recommendations coming from both within the country itself, the civil society and other political players, independent political players, and from international observers, notably the European Union. And a few of these recommendations are heeded to, yes, as we come on, but bulk of them remain unimplemented. And these have been accumulating as we are going. So these are the things that this government has now agreed to implement. And we are hoping that they will. But so far, it's promise. And we're looking forward to see how this can change.
Well, with this new development, would you say there is a new Sierra Leone, or at least do you hope for a new Sierra Leone?
So if you ask if this is a new Sierra Leone, it is a new Sierra Leone, considering, number one, the fact that they are coming back, because that's what Sierra Leoneans have been looking forward to have the opposition participate. If you do not have an opposition, an opposition participating in the kind of politics, the kind of democracy that we have, then something is missing. And now we have them in. So yes, we have a new Sierra Leone, and Sierra Leoneans, most Sierra Leoneans are looking forward to a change in the way things are run.
So what are some of those changes that Sierra Leoneans are yearning for?
Firstly, to make sure that the party in governance does the right things. I mean, follows the laws. I mean, if you do not have somebody to check you in parliament, for example, you are likely to do things as it suits you. I mean, because almost everything is politicized in this country. And usually the person in power, the party in power, tend to want to do things that its supporters are okay with, and they don't care about how the other side of the political spectrum feel about it. But generally, Sierra Leoneans also will want the governments to do things that serve their interests. I mean, service, providing public service is really not in the best way that it's supposed to be. And Sierra Leoneans are hoping that to change. They believe that this can only happen if they are elected representatives.
That was Kemo Cham, an independent analyst in Sierra Leone. It's now time for sports update. Let's join Sam Klejanko.
Hello there, warm welcome and thank you for joining us. South African Giants Mamelodi Sundowns are one step closer to the final after a 1-0 home win over Al Ahly in the first leg of the African Football League semi-final in Pretoria on Sunday. Sundowns claimed the 3 points thanks to a second-half goal scored by Tapelo Maseko to snatch the victory against the Egyptian Giants in front of the home crowd at Loftus Versfeld Stadium. Sundowns will go into the return leg with a slender lead advantage when the two Giants rub shoulders for the tie's decider on Wednesday in Cairo. Al Ahly remain very much in the tie, and Sundown must be wary of their intimidating Cairo Stadium in the perfectly poised semi-final second leg. Meanwhile, a second-half goal from Hisham Bouchfian earned the Moroccos with at Casablanca a 1-0 home victory over Tunisian side Esperance in the first leg of their Crunch African Football League semi-final, according to the CAF official website. But four-time African champions Esperance will still fancy their chances of overturning the deficit on home soil on Wednesday. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
Sports was brought to you by Sankule Janko. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of NewsLink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal on 94.9 FM. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Christian Mukidi and Mustafa Sek for the technical support. Do interact with us via social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio, English Service, and stream live on WADR.org. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is WADR's health flagship program, Well Body. I'm Abdullahi Hassan. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to NewsLink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0, and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County. For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.